Hi everybody, thanks for joining me. I'm Tom Diederich, and today I'm with Nick Bailey. He's the author of a new book called Customers Are Fickle. Nick's a 25-year vet of the IT industry, and he's currently the managing director of his own company, Apexselling.com. Nick, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here.
There are a lot of books right now on selling on the market. Why did you decide to add another to the pile, so to speak? And who, specifically, is your target market for this book, and why should they buy it?
Well, the target market is those sales, marketing, and bid professionals who are involved in high-value complex deals, defined as taking more than 3 months to sell, have a high value of over 250K, and probably have a decision-making unit of more than 4 people. After spending 25 years selling such complex deals, I wanted to share that knowledge and experience and integrate 3 strands, really. All the feedback from the deals I had run, both successful and unsuccessful. I wanted to provide an easy to understand framework or methodology into which aspiring salespeople could use my ideas, or as importantly, other people's ideas in an eclectic way that made sense to them, hence the fickle methodology. And thirdly, and as importantly, introduce for the first time, to my knowledge anyway, the importance of understanding the diversity of personalities in a customer buying team, hence the Enneagram.
So Nick, what is fickle? What does it stand for? And how is it different from other sales methodologies? And finally, why should people buy into this, buy your book?
Well, fickle is an acronym or a mnemonic, and it stands for finding new clients, investigating those clients in terms of what are their issues and ambitions, closing deals, C for closing. K is for keeping deals in terms of, you want to keep the clients happy, you want a big deal, you don't want that to go away, you want to create a good impression on a case study. Leveraging is using that client relationship after producing a really good deal to reference sell into other opportunities. And expanding is really about going back into that original client and saying, hey, we've done a really good piece of work for you here in customer services. How about we look at the manufacturing systems now? The breadth of the concept, really, the USP of it is the breadth of the concept from finding to expanding. So it appeals to new business people as well as account developers. It's got an eclectic open source approach and encourages readers to look at all the great works out there and pick what suits them. Very much recommending, for instance, Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play by Randy and Mahan. And thirdly, it's the use of the personality typing tool, which is easy to get into, called the Enneagram. And this really does enhance interpersonal performance.
I know you've got a lot of experience in this field, but when you're doing your research for this book, did you learn anything that surprised you?
Yes, I did actually. Just how much knowledge I'd gained and forgotten about from over the years. 25 years out there in the field, dozens of courses, dozens of bids. Some I won, some I failed with. But there's a lot to learn out of all that is goodness in the book for people and readers of it. And a big reminder, really, that people buy from people. No matter how big the deal, and the relationships are probably the most critical element in a big, complex deal. And thirdly, that writing a book is seriously hard work. I've got a new respect for authors and journalists because when you try to put all this stuff together and then net it down into something that's concise and appealing to very busy sales execs like I've done, it's a difficult task.
Indeed. So Nick, do you believe that a person is either born with it, like they either have it or they don't have it, in terms of being a successful sales professional?
This is a very interesting question, Tom. And interestingly, I was asked the same question by the web editor of the UK magazine called Management Today recently at the Global Entrepreneurs Congress in Liverpool. Steve Felice from the COO of Dell was a speaker there, along with Branson and Hesseltine and others. And my answer to her was that I believe that certain categories of the 9 types of people to be found on the Enneagram do make better salespeople than others. So there is a nature thing there. But as a master in NLP, I also know that should any particular type really, really want to make it as a salesperson, then they can model or emulate the best and get out there and achieve things. So for me, it's more nurture than nature.
Sales and marketing are often separate departments within organizations, especially large organizations. It seems like the larger they are, the less they talk to each other. How would you position both of these teams if you were the CEO of a large B2B company?
It's a great question, Tom, and one that tells you a lot about the culture of a company. Some huge corporations in Europe don't even have a marketing or sales director or VP. They're so technically oriented. If I was running such a company, I would at board level have a marketing director or VP and have them set the strategy around the classic 4 Ps of, what products are we going to market with? How should we do the pricing? What's the place or distribution channels? How should we promote these things? But sales is really a peer activity. It's not a sub activity of marketing. And they need to own the number and they need to have the strategy of how to get there. The two functions need to be highly integrated and in perfect lockstep, in my view.
What are the 1, 2, maybe 3 things that salespeople consistently, for the most part, get wrong in your view, and how can they correct that?
Well, I do address these topics quite closely in the book. They are, in my view, at the beginning of the deal, failure to qualify the opportunity thoroughly. And then people go off chasing dreams, burning bid budget, and, disaster at the end of it. Point 2, failure to identify all the decision makers in a deal. In a complex deal, there can a minimum of 4 people involved. In one deal I was involved with the London Metro, there were 39 people to get to influence and discuss an opportunity with. And finally, failure to have a thorough closure plan. I thoroughly recommend Mahan and Mirandi's decision process as an ideal model to flush out what is the closure plan, who's going to be responsible, when are they going to be responsible, why, etc., etc. The common theme that you can spot here is a lack of thoroughness with what are easy to understand and implement processes. The problem sometimes is that sales folks go on a sales course and then within 6 months the disciplines fade. It's crucial that sales managers and VPs install and instill a continuation of those methods at customer meetings, bid reviews, monthly sales meetings. They really need to be what I call habituized habits.
Some sales coaches say it's better to fail fast. That is to say, learn as quickly as possible that your product or service is not right for that particular client. Or learn perhaps that there's some other factor that's going to, for sure torpedo the deal. So, find out that you're not going to make it, get out fast. What do you think about that?
Yes, they're absolutely right, and I'd refer you straight back to my point about qualification. Instead of fail fast, perhaps I would say qualify extremely hard and use all the 11 criteria that are in my book.
In our conversation, you've mentioned the Enneagram quite a bit, and I know that in your book you talk about neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and this is a concept that can be applied to sales. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more here?
Sure. Part of the USP of my book is how to integrate these two concepts to enable salespeople to create the vital rapport and trust required with prospects. To believe why you might need to do that, imagine 2 very real types of person you might meet in a customer deal panel. 1, a techie. 2, a CEO. Imagine that the techie is Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, what I would consider to be a 5 on the Enneagram. The other person, the CEO, is maybe Meryl Streep from The Iron Lady, i.e. Margaret Thatcher. She'd be a 1 on the Enneagram. Do you think you'd have to have different messaging, even although in the same presentation, albeit for the same deal for those 2 different people? You need them both to get to say yes to the proposal and the pitch. How do you do it? Well, it's in the book.
The quote, "Intent counts more than technique," is a popular expression here at 95.5, Nick. What's your take on that? I know you have some familiarity with the book. Let's Get Real, Let's Not Play, and also with the 95.5's methodologies.
Indeed. I really liked that phrase when I first heard it, when I was working with Randy, Craig, and Mahan in Dallas back in 2008. I was on a course with those guys there, and for me, it's about authenticity and being really concerned to work with the client and find a solution that pays back on a quantitative and a qualitative level. So if your intent is genuine, the client will pick up on this vibe and you will have a much higher chance of success. It's why the strapline on my website at Apexselling.com says selling with integrity and intelligence. So it's about that integrity, intelligence, and authenticity.
Do you think sales techniques change according to how the economy is doing? That is to say, do you see any unique opportunities for selling in a bad economy that are not there when times are good?
Well, to turn that one around, I think that in a boom economy, salespeople sometimes back off from the basics and doing the tougher to do stuff. like introducing themselves to strangers at sea level. Last week, I went to 2 separate business exhibitions in Manchester and Birmingham, UK. Birmingham, it was the biggest machine tool exhibition in Europe, and so I was able to introduce myself to over 30 sales directors or VPs, out of which I walked away with 20 solid leads, more leads in one day than a whole month of conventional marketing. Anyone can do this with coaching, and as you guys say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
How is social media changing how sales professionals work, and how can they use it? How do you use it, for example?
Okay, well, Tom, this interview is in fact a fantastic example of how social media works in business. I met you via Randy and LinkedIn, and here we are on a Skype call doing an interview across the pond, which hopefully will generate some interesting comment and traction for both of our businesses. Another example is that a British ex-colleague of mine emailed me via LinkedIn on Sunday night from the Middle East, and I was able to point him in the right direction. Social media has made global working easier, faster, and vastly more productive. We just have to maintain the quality and appropriate frequency, so no tweeting just for the sake of it, please. Make it quality tweeting. A great piece of US-UK collaboration for me recently was that 2 great friends of mine, based one in California, the other in Boston, respectively, were able to provide incisive and helpful critique of my website to me here in Manchester, UK, all via technology.
Talk a little about the training that you do and how you help people through these processes yourself.
Okay, my offers to the market are consultancy around sales and individual and team performance. Number 2, coaching and mentoring. 3, training in the fundamentals of sales, but more importantly, what are the advanced aspects of a big deal selling? So I actually, in my 3-day advanced course, use the entire contents of the book, Customers Are Fickle, with client attendees and participants. And 4, I do a masterclass for those people who are experienced and really want to just sharpen the saw, so I net down the 3 days into a 1-day masterclass. I help them through these processes myself by, pragmatic discussion and application of easy to understand models, use of real sales situations, case studies and war stories to show this is how I did it when faced with this kind of challenge approach, and role plays to give participants a chance to practice and feel what a particular process would be like before using it in the field. At the end of a course, the participant will have a clear understanding of how to find, develop and close a big deal, and have a practical set of checkpoints to help them avoid wasting valuable bid resources, which we know are expensive. Importantly, these processes will provide them with the tools and data to share with other professionals, like bid directors and technical authorities, to demonstrate vital leadership qualities in the deal.
Going back to the book, how would people get the most out of it? Should they read it cover to cover, or do they pick and choose topics according to what they need at that particular time?
Well, Tom, my recommendation is to go through the book from cover to cover initially, which won't take long because it's not a War and Peace by Tolstoy. It's a fairly slim-sized volume and calibrate it against your own experience and skills. This will give you a rough gap analysis between where you are today and where you need to be. You can then call out your weakest points and spend time doing a deeper dive to enhance your capabilities. For example, I suspect that almost everyone will be fascinated to know what their own type is out of 9 possibilities on the Enneagram, and why in your life to date you've got reactions consistently along a whole kind of range from oh no, that's why I've always felt that way about them type of reactions, so that you can then optimize all future interactions and be better salespeople, better friends, better parents, etc.
Well, Nick, thanks very much for speaking with me today. I really appreciate it. Nick Bailey, he's the author of Customers Are Fickle. It hit bookshelves on April 23rd, available in paperback or on a Kindle on Amazon.com. Nick, it was a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks very much.
Hey, thank you, Tom. It's been a fantastic experience and privilege to be able to do this, as we say, using social media. And please give all my respect and thanks to the guys at 95.5.
I sure will. And we're going to be having some real feedback from the audience. So I'll be letting you know if there's any questions or comments. I'll be giving you the links where you can respond directly to those people.
I will really look forward to that. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Tom.